Hi there, and welcome to Oaklandside 510. I'm Tasneem Raja, editor-in-chief of the Oaklandside, Oakland's independent nonprofit newsroom. Later in this episode, if you have ever tossed one of those green compostable bags into your curbside compost bin, we have some news for you. I'll be joined by Oaklandside reporter Natalie Orenstein to talk about why the city of Oakland doesn't actually want those bags in your green bin at all. And I'll have headline stories for you on block cameras, a data center that could be coming to downtown Oakland, a new restaurant from the chef behind Burdell, and more. But first, a quick message from a local organization supporting this show. This episode is brought to you by Boss, building opportunities for self-sufficiency. Oakland, the Black August commemoration is back. Join them on Saturday, August 29th for the 6th annual Black August Arc of Liberation commemoration at Oakland City Hall. It's a free event with food, ice cream, live performances, turf dancers, wellness resources, family activity, and a full-day community celebration rooted in art, culture, political education, and economic empowerment. All of it free for Oakland. Visit bit.ly/bossblackaugust to RSVP and learn more. Now let's get into recent reporting from the Oaklandside. Leaked training materials show that license plate surveillance company Flock Safety has been describing Oakland as a, quote, powerful example for other police departments. It says Oakland is a case study in how to get elected officials to approve its cameras despite broad public opposition. The leaked materials were obtained by tech reporting outlet 404 Media, and they describe how Oakland officials shifted the conversation from privacy concerns toward oversight and transparency. The city council approved a more than $2 million contract with Flock in December, 7-1, with Councilmember Carol Fife being the only no vote. Moving on, a local developer wants to bring a data center to Oakland, part of a 1.3 million square foot, quote, innovation campus. And meanwhile, Tesla and a startup called Prometheus, which was founded by Amazon's Jeff Bezos, have reportedly signed leases at the American Steel Warehouse in West Oakland. None of the projects have come before the city council yet, and city council member Carol Fife, whose district includes all three of these sites, says she is pushing for new regulations, especially since Oakland has no legislation on data centers currently on the books. Also this week, a high-stakes trial against Meta, the technology giant behind Facebook and Instagram, began at Oakland's federal courthouse, with California's Attorney General and 29 other states arguing that the company knowingly harvested children's data and misled the public about mental health harms from its products. Attorneys cited internal Meta studies, including one 2019 finding that 1 in 5 teens said Instagram made them feel worse about themselves. The trial in Oakland is expected to run 6 to 8 weeks. In school news, Oakland Unified's school board got some good budget news this week. The final state budget is expected to bring an extra $8 million in cost of living adjustments and up to $12 million in additional special education funding to our school district. Superintendent Denise Sadler also announced the district's lowest teacher vacancy rate in years, with more than 99% of teaching positions filled. For anyone who wants to learn how to report potholes through the city's Oak 311 system, Bike East Bay is hosting a hands-on training this Sunday, August 23rd. It starts at 10 a.m. at San Pablo Avenue and 27th Street, with training and a walk to flag potholes, followed by lunch at Stagel Deli. In food news, Chef Jeff Davis of Oakland soul food restaurant Burdell is opening a new spot called Uncle's in the current Wood Tavern space in Rockridge. He's targeting an opening in spring of 2027. The concept is a neighborhood bar and grill, highlighting wood fire cooking and lesser-known steak cuts, with a rotating menu that's built around Davis's relationships with farms in the Bay Area. And finally, we want to tell you about an event coming up this Saturday at Snow Park, Afrobeats at the Lake. It's been going on for 8 years now. It's a full day celebrating the African diaspora with vendors selling food and clothing, and they're going to have DJs flying in from Ghana and Nigeria. Basically, if you want to dance outside by the lake this weekend, this is where you need to be. That's it for headlines. We will link to all of this reporting in the show notes. All right, let's turn to our main story this week. I'm joined by Natalie Orenstein, our housing and city hall reporter, who has also been on the garbage beat lately. Natalie, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Tasneem.
So you wrote a surprising story about how people actually shouldn't be putting those little green compost bags in their curbside compost bins. Now, how did you find this out?
Yeah, well, I found out kind of the hard way. I love to cook, and so I generate a lot of food scraps. And each week I've been diligently composting those food scraps, and I put them in these green liners in my little kitchen compost pail. They, of course, seem like a very convenient solution. You know, they're sold in bulk at places like Costco, and some grocery stores like Farmer Joe's and Berkeley Bowl give them out for produce.
Yeah.
They're often advertised as being compostable. It often says so on the box or on the bag itself. In my building, our neighbors take turns taking the bins out to the curb each week. And one of my neighbors the other week was doing that and sent a text to the building casually saying, "Oh, by the way, Oakland doesn't accept those green bags." This one text kind of rocked my world. And I have to admit, I didn't believe her at first. I thought she had the wrong information.
Yeah.
But I looked into it a little bit more, and I asked people in our newsroom if they knew about this. And to my chagrin, it turned out to be true.
So what do you mean? Like, what is going on with these green bags? Why can't people put them in the bins?
The problem is the city of Oakland and its curbside compost collector, Waste Management, don't accept them. And in fact, no man-made items are allowed at all in those green bins. And Waste Management's processing plant in Altamont can't process any type of plastic or bioplastic.
Right. So there's plastic and there's bioplastic. And so bioplastic is what these green food compost bags are supposedly made of.
Right. And I'm definitely not an expert here, but bioplastic generally means materials that can feel like plastic, but are largely organic and in theory are able to break down. Bioplastic bags require really specific environmental conditions to actually break down. And the plant here just isn't built to handle that. In fact, only one facility in California can, it turns out, and that's in SoCal.
So this is confusing. If they are marketed as compostable and the packaging says they're compostable, why aren't they compostable?
Great question. So a few different reasons. One is that bioplastic products, bags, but also cups, utensils, etc., can contain additives that aren't actually biodegradable. And it can be really hard for the customer to realize that. There aren't great rules across the board yet about how transparent the companies have to be. They can contain small amounts of plastic, for instance, and still be certified as compostable. Now, I do want to clarify, some of these bags and other products are fully compostable, but the machines can't distinguish between them and the more plasticky bags. So they end up removing it all and sending it all to the landfill.
So what happens if someone does put one of these bags into their curbside bin?
Yeah, this was a burning question for a lot of people. The ground up bag itself typically gets sorted out during the processing and gets sent to the landfill, but the food inside of it still usually makes it into the compost.
Okay, hang on. It kind of looks like producer Mark in the background here is dying to say something. Mark?
Yeah, I have to say my wife and I, after reading Natalie's story, got in a little bit of an argument because she gets very grossed out by food waste, especially rotting food waste. And so it is very very hard for her to not put them in the green compost bin. So I was advocating that we eliminate the bags, but it is very nice to know that even if we do use the bags, the food waste is still going to the compost.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a relief for a lot of people. Just know, however, that some of those bag particles, those bits of plastic, probably are slipping through into the compost, though.
So this is part of the debate in Mark's household. And I got to think households across the Bay Area, I'm sure, in the wake of your reporting, Natalie, leaving the grossness factor aside for a second, is everyone doing more harm than good with these bags?
Unfortunately, that might be the case. And I think part of what's confusing people is that different cities have different rules. Several in Alameda County do technically accept bioplastic bags in their compost, but these facilities are still just sorting out the bags and other contaminants and sending them to the landfill like Oakland does. And that's according to the regional agency Stop Waste. Robin Plutchok, a program manager there, told us that in most cases, facilities still pre-process and remove the compostable bags along with the other contaminants, which she said is both challenging and costly. So even in cities that technically accept them, I heard from a lot of people in Berkeley after this story, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting composted. There is some legislation underway and recently passed to try and clarify labeling and regulations. This could eventually lead to a more standardized system in the Bay Area in coming years.
You published the story last week. I know that there's been a ton of response to this story. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the response to the first story was huge. I think every subject line in my inbox was compost, green bag, exclamation mark, question mark. Tens of thousands of people have now read it. And I heard directly from a lot of those readers. Some people were shocked, some were angry, and then some were relieved to finally understand the rules and spread awareness. A lot of people said they had no idea green bags weren't accepted, and they were frustrated that there hasn't been clearer public information.
People have been buying these bags for a long time. Like you said, they're available, at grocery stores everywhere you look. Why do you think so many people were just caught off guard by this?
Yeah, I asked the city this, and that recycling manager, Parnes, told us Oakland and its waste collectors do try to inform residents. They table at street fairs. They include information with bills. They actually mail residents annually and post on social media. But she said the city doesn't have the staff or funding to raise as much awareness as it would like. And on top of that, the bioplastic products themselves don't always have accurate information on the packaging.
So practically speaking, what should people be doing with their food scraps?
Yeah, we actually crowdsourced this. I asked a bunch of people who subscribe to our Saturday newsletter, and we got a lot of suggestions. So a lot of people line their kitchen pails with paper, whether that's shredded mail, those paper bags you get for lunches or with loaves of bread, cardboard pieces, even old newspaper, which, I was personally happy to see people still subscribe to newspapers. And the city endorses these options. Some people freeze or refrigerate their scraps to avoid leaks and fruit flies. Some just skip the liner entirely and bring the scraps straight out to the bin, sometimes covering them with yard waste to keep the bugs away.
I will say I am one of these people. Now, it may sound gross, but in our house, we've always just dumped the food scraps directly into our countertop compost bin. And then I say we, it's really my husband because it is gross and I don't want to touch it. But he will then once or twice a week take the kitchen compost bin and carry it out to the city's compost bin and dump it.
Does that not get a little disgusting?
Yeah, look, I don't think it smells. We have people come over to the house a lot. No one's ever told me it smells. It seems fine to me. It's not a huge compost bin. It's kind of small, so maybe that's part of what helps. But we've just never lined the compost bin. We do get those little bags with our groceries, if we're going to Berkeley Bowl or Market Hall or wherever. And I am concerned about the fact that we have been putting those in the compost bin themselves. We'll probably stop doing that now.
Readers had a bunch of other ideas too. Some people reuse takeout containers. You just have to make sure they're completely made of paper or cardboard. And then there are also options for people who are really passionate about this and are willing to spend a little money. One company is called the Clean Composting Company, makes this product that's kind of shaped like a flower pot, and it's entirely made out of paper pulp. That runs about $20 a month or $240 a year. So, significantly more than the green bags cost. And then on the even much higher end, there's this company Mill, which sells this at-home food recycler for about $1,000 that turns your scraps into dried grounds that can then be turned into compost without the smell or the liquid.
Okay, good to know. What should people do with the green bags that they've already bought or the green bags, that they're getting from the grocery store?
Yeah, I'm in this position and I asked Parnes this. She said to treat them like any other plastic bag. So, use them if you need to and then put them in the trash.
Wow.
Some readers told us they're repurposing them too for things like bathroom trash liners or scooping kitty litter.
Yes, they can also make poop bags for dogs in a pinch. We've definitely done that in our house. Well, look, all of this is really surprising, a little depressing. But it is what it is. At least we know more now, thanks to your reporting. Natalie, I'm sure you're going to continue getting emails. Maybe there's a follow-up to the follow-up. In any event, thank you so much for looking into this and sharing it with all of us.
Yeah, I think people want us to take on the recycling beat next. Thanks for having me.
That is this week's episode of Oaklandside 510. You can find all the stories we talked about today and all of our other recent reporting at oaklandside.org. Sign up for our daily newsletter to get our reporting delivered to your inbox. This episode was produced by Mark Nieto. On behalf of our entire newsroom, thank you for showing up for Oakland. We'll see you next week.